Good morning, good afternoon, or good night from whenever and wherever you are watching us. I am Cameron Scandal. That is Stephen Treffler. And we are the sound. Thank you so much for joining us today, folks. I hope you're staying inside where it's warm, where you are away from the elements, because here in South Central Pennsylvania, Steve and I were texting before going to work, literally in the negative degrees. So we're glad that you are inside, staying warm, staying safe, watching us from the comfort of your home, from your own home. And we got a hot show for you today, folks. A lot of good stuff.
If they're not warm, we're about to spit some fire. So
we're going to bring the heat, absolutely. So, folks, without further ado, let's get right into it. Josh Allen and the Bills trying to stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs from going to a third straight Super Bowl, being the first three-peat in NFL history. Gonna be a tall order. And, Steve, it is not easy, no matter who you are, to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. It is a tall order. There are a few things that the Bills need to accomplish in this game. Just looking at an offensive standpoint right now, the Bills need to buy into Josh Allen. Josh Allen is what has gotten them there. Josh Allen is the sole reason this team is even on the trajectory that they are currently on. And not so much from a legacy comparison standpoint, but very much going to be like LeBron in 2018, where it is just him and everybody else, and you got to follow suit. He needs 250 in the air. He needs 45, 50 plus on the ground, multiple touchdowns, and everyone just needs to be like, okay, what does Josh want from me? What does Josh need from me? And make sure that I am doing my respective part. Josh Allen is the reason that they have gotten to this spot. It has not been from everybody else. Receivers have had less than half the season so far with games of 80 yards receiving. Less than half. So it's not like he's throwing it out there to guys he can really trust on. When Josh Allen has these monster games with, say, he has 250 yards throwing, in those games, 4-4. This is the playoffs. This is not regular season. This is just straight up the playoffs. 45 plus rushing yards. What's their record? 4-3. 60% completion percentage. What's their record? 4-2. So the Bills, when they are behind Josh Allen, when they are running Josh Allen's game plan and they are doing things to his system, I guess I should say, they obviously have great success. 17 touchdowns to 4 interceptions in his career. In the playoffs, 238 yards a game, specifically against Patrick Mahomes. Steve, as I mentioned, I mean, it's not easy going up against the Chiefs, but if they can just get behind Josh and let him do what he does best and cook, certainly a chance to move on to the Super Bowl.
Cam, everything that you just said, I can't argue with. But as we all know, defense wins championships. Mm-hmm. Let me just paint a picture for you here real quick. In Josh Allen's 3 games against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the playoffs, as you said, he's 0-3. Let me tell you how Josh Allen played in all 3 of those games. Because as you saw me earlier taking some notes, I wrote down something that you said. And you said in order for them to win this game, that he would need 250 yards and multiple touchdowns. In the first game, they lost 24-38. Josh Allen had 287 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, with 88 rushing yards, and only had 1 turnover. That sounds like a great game to me. How much better can Josh Allen do than that? All right, let's go on to the second game he played against the Chiefs in the playoffs. He had 329 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 11 carries for 68 yards, and they lost 42-36. So, man, what more can Josh Allen do? In game 3, he had a little bit of a down game. 186 passing yards, 1 touchdown, but 12 carries for 72 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns with no turnovers. And they lost 27-24. The Bills' defense needs to step up and put their big boy pants on. Because even if Josh Allen plays at that level, historically, the Bills have shown that they're not able to stop Patrick Mahomes. So let's dive into that a little bit. How do you stop Patrick Mahomes? How do the Bills find a way on defense to win this game? Well, the first thing that they need to do is they need to find a way to stop Patrick Mahomes' best weapon in these games, which has been Travis Kelce. In those 3 games previously mentioned, Travis Kelce had 13 catches for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns, 8 catches for 96 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 catches for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. Surprisingly, Patrick Mahomes has thrown for 8 touchdowns in those 3 games against the Bills. 5 of them have gone to Travis Kelce. So the common denominator is stopping the connection between Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. Because if that is where the bulk of their scoring is coming from, is directly that connection, then all the Bills need to do is find a way to bracket him, double him, and prevent him from getting the ball. He's the one that is hurting them in these games. The way that the Bills win this game against the Chiefs and find a way to finally get over the hump is they need to stop the connection between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. You stop that connection, Buffalo, you will find yourself in the Super Bowl.
And unfortunately for Buffalo, though, they are the most prolific playoff combo in history. Like, that is such an easier thing said than done to stop Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's...
And Steve, we have all this conversation to say this. I mean, let's go on the record. Both of us believe that the Chiefs are going to win this game. We both believe it's a winnable game for the Bills. Like, it's not like it's out of the question. If Josh Allen loses this game, which, like we just said, we're assuming he will, does it do anything for his legacy? Do we look at him like after this Lamar game, we kind of said, this maybe now it's too much that we can't ignore it. At this point, if Josh Allen loses, do we start saying something?
The narrative is being written and the writing's on the wall. Nobody said it yet is the problem. And as I've said before, even Peyton Manning found a way to beat Tom Brady in the playoffs. Like, the great quarterbacks find a way to get it done. So does it? We'll let the viewers speak for themselves. I don't want to speak too quickly, but I think that there's a pattern if it happens again this year.
So if the Chiefs move on to the Super Bowl, like, do you, like I said, do you look at him differently, or do you think it doesn't matter? Not does it matter, but it doesn't move the needle?
I'm not going to look at him differently per se, but it definitely, there's a taste. There's an aftertaste. There's going to start to be an aftertaste because it's going to start, okay, if not now, then when?
I think it would mean more for Mahomes. Like, you would think Mahomes' legacy, like, if he loses, what's the big deal? He's got all his other stuff. I think if he loses, that starts a bigger conversation, or it has more weight than if Josh loses. It's
Correct.
Not like we haven't seen this from Josh. It's not like this would be new or unprecedented territory. Yeah. And like you always, you bring this up with DeMar DeRozan a lot. Like, he just ran to LeBron every year. Like, what do you want the guy to do? So I don't think it moves the needle a whole lot. It's gonna be I said this to you yesterday that I'm upset that we weren't doing the show to have this out there. The AFC is playing for the Super Bowl. Like, before the season started, I thought it was going to be the winner was going to be out of the AFC. And now I think if you ask anybody on the planet who out of the 4 teams who's winning the Super Bowl, it's the Chiefs or the Bills. Yeah. I don't think anyone truly believes that the NFC teams have a chance to beat whoever comes out of the AFC. But yeah, so go ahead.
And no, I will completely validate. Cam has been saying this since before week 1. I vividly remember the phone call because he says, Steve, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think anybody in the NFC is competing for a championship this year.
It's exactly what I said.
Were you wrong?
No, I was not. I really was not. So, yeah, going to be a good one. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, part 4. We'll see who comes out on top. Probably going to be Mahomes. Switching conferences, moving from the AFC to the NFC, is an NFC East division matchup between the Eagles and the Commanders. Who saw this coming? Who saw this matchup in the championship game? Not me either. Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts going up against one another. This seems like a lopsided matchup from the outside looking in. But again, Steve, you and I had said that this is a winnable game for the Commanders. And I think each team there are things that they can do to really bolster their chances against the other. So being the resident Eagles fan, let me focus on taking the Birds side of things first.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. Always go Birds. I got 3 key points about what the Birds can do. Number 1, play within themselves and play within the offense and decide what that game plan is. So Jalen Hurts has not had a prolific postseason, which so far has been fine. A.J. Brown has been A.J. Brown the whole season. We kind of went into that last episode with his drama and his attitude and wanting more action. And Saquon Barkley, who has been the focal point of the offense, had monster season. What are we going to do with him? Those 3 guys and Sirianni need to decide, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the best game plan to beat the Commanders and achieve the goal of the Super Bowl. It's not about us. It's not about the egos. It's not even about really the Eagles. It's about the goal of winning the Super Bowl and being a part of history. We can't have any moments. We can't have any A.J. Brown reading on the sideline. We can't have any Jalen Hurts coming out post-game being like, that's what you guys want to see. We can't have that. We need to have a regular game and, like I said, commit to the game plan and stay with that. Key point number 2, we need to make Washington beat us, not Jaden Daniels. You need to surround him. You need to pressure him. You need to get up in his face. You need to load the box. He has 1 target, Terry McLaurin. He had just over 1,000. He had 1,096 yards this season, 82 catches. The person next to him in total receiving yards was Zach Ertz. He had almost 450 less yards than Terry McLaurin. Jaden Daniels, when he rushes for 45-plus yards, they are 7-2. Jaden Daniels, when he throws for 225-plus, they are 5-2. Jaden Daniels, when he is sacked 3-plus times, they are 5-4. So a little bit better, but still a winning record. They need to load up on Jaden. How about their starting running back? How about Brian Robinson Jr.? 799 yards. Call it 800. You know what Jaden Daniels had? 891. He is the offense. If we can stop Jaden Daniels, if we can load up the box and make Washington beat us and not Jaden Daniels beat us, kind of the opposite of what I said about Josh Allen, going to be good for us. And point number 3, which is kind of generic, but is really important for the Eagles, don't let up. Get the halftime lead, keep the halftime lead, and keep the momentum. Because a team like Washington is going to come into this game as an underdog, a divisional rival, who we have said, I think everyone kind of is like that Washington is not going to win. Like that overall feeling, they're going to build off of momentum. They're going to build off of the noise, and they're going to build off of the Eagles making mistakes and them hyping up around that. We can't allow that to happen. We need to jump and not let go, because that's going to deflate a team like Washington. If they start to believe themselves, the noise that they'd heard from everybody else, that's going to deflate them heavy. If we go into the locker room and Sirianni's got to give a hype speech about why are we down to the Commanders, A.J. Brown's going to be, Saquon Barkley's going to try to do too much and break a leg, and Jalen Hurts probably going to do the same thing, try to do too much, throw it downfield, get us a pick. Steve, 3 keys to beat the Commanders. Play within yourself and agree on the offensive game plan. Make Washington beat you and not Jaden Daniels. And don't give up. Get the lead. Keep the lead. Win the game. Go Birds.
First off, that was well done.
Thank you.
I agree with you. I think that those are all things that the Birds need to accomplish in order to beat the Commanders this game, right? If they are going to win, they have to stop Jaden Daniels. For the Commanders, the 3 keys for them to win this game. Key number 1, you got to stop Saquon Barkley. Obviously, a lot easier said than done, Mr. 2K himself, right? On December 22nd of 2024, the Eagles and Commanders faced off. Saquon had 29 carries for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. If that happens again, they will not beat the Eagles. Out of the Eagles' losses this season, they have had 3 regular season losses. 2 of them, Saquon ran for less than 100 yards. If you hold Saquon to under 100 yards rushing, you have a much better chance of winning, obvious, right? The second thing that the Commanders need to do, kind of like what you said, where they need to let Washington beat them and not Jaden Daniels beat them. The Commanders need to force Jalen Hurts to keep the ball in his hand. The Commanders currently have the 3rd ranked passing defense in the league. Jalen Hurts has a lot of turnover issues going back to last season. Now, where he didn't have the interception numbers this year because Saquon took a large portion of the load off of him, he still had 10 fumbles in 16 games. Jalen Hurts also has a large problem with holding the ball too long. He takes unnecessary sacks because he doesn't throw the ball away, which has led him to being the 7th most sacked quarterback in the NFL this season. Key 3, finish strong. The Commanders went 12-5 this season. Out of those 5 losses, 3 of them, they gave up 14 or more points in the 4th quarter. One of them being against the Eagles, where they gave up 20 points in the 4th quarter. That game finished 36-33. You play a better 4th quarter, you're not in that position. If the Commanders can keep the ball out of Saquon's hands by stopping him, force Jalen Hurts to keep the ball in his hand and finish strong in the 4th quarter, it definitely increases their chances of being able to win this game, Ken.
Yeah, it is not going to be easy. I mean, like I said, Jalen Hurts not having a prolific season or postseason. So making him beat you and not Saquon, certainly a good one. But, and the, good news for the Commanders, at the time of this recording, Jalen Hurts is limited in practice. Came out and with a knee injury from getting hit in the 3rd quarter of the Rams game. Dallas Goedert didn't participate in practice. Mitchell is apparently dealing with injuries. So the Eagles are going into Sunday banged up. So maybe it's easier than we're making it out to be.
The only consolation that the Eagles have is the Commanders also finished 3rd to last in rush defense ranking. So stopping Saquon is going to be a task.
Yeah, and not even Saquon. I mean, if Jalen Hurts can get healthy, if he can get back into the running game. Steve, Jaden Daniels beats the Eagles, goes to the Super Bowl. At that point, what are we talking about with Jaden Daniels? Like, what conversations do we need to start having about his future and his ability to directly impact success? Like, think about the position Washington was in a season ago, and now they're in the conference championship game. Like, what do we start having to say about Jaden Daniels if he advances?
First thing I'm going to ask you is preseason. What did you think the ceiling for the Commanders was?
The ceiling? 1st round exit?
All right. Knowing that was our prediction or where we thought they could get to. And now we're talking about after drafting a guy who I am on record saying was a total bust, was going to be a total bust, who I am on record saying that he is not the answer, that he is not going to be good in the NFL, to watching where he's taken this team as a rookie, where you just got done saying that outside of Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz was their 2nd best option. And he had more rushing yards or almost the same as their starting running back. We are now talking about a guy who has come in as a rookie, elevated his team to a Super Bowl contender, a team that nobody thought was even close to. What kind of conversations do you think we need to start having?
Right.
Like, I'm not trying to be a smart ass.
I know that would.
You have to start having at that point.
Yeah. Switching gears from the NFL, going to the association, the NBA. Not been a great year for the league. Viewership is down. Player interest is down. And it doesn't seem like there is really a clear solution or a right way to fix it or go about this. Why do you think the NBA is having this viewership issue? And, what are some ways or some things that they can do to fix this in the future and going forward?
Right away, I'll just be honest. I don't think there is an issue. I don't think that there's anything that needs fixed in the NBA. Let me dive into this a little more for you. Everyone's talking about these three-pointers, the three-pointer issue, right? Oh my God, it's just a three-point shooting contest every game. It's unwatchable. It's, blah, blah, blah. Here's the facts. In 1997, the NBA averaged 12 three-pointers attempted per game. They were making 35% of them in that year. Today's number, it's jumped to 37 attempts per game, but they're making 36% of them. So if you take 100 three-pointers and you're making 36% of them, that equates to 36 three-pointers made, which is 108 points. If you take 100 two-pointers or mid-rangers, layups, in today's averages, that comes out to approximately 46%. If you make 46 twos, you're only getting 92 points per 100 shots taken. So the expected shot value has shown that taking more threes is smarter. It's not the three-pointers, then what's the issue? I like to go back to the length of the NBA season as being one of the issues. It's much different than football, where you know that your team is playing on a Sunday or some sprinkled in Mondays or Thursdays in there. And you have the ability to sit down on a day off, which most people have off on Sundays, and watch with your family and friends in your free time. But you also know that it's 17 games and it's one game that day, and you get to watch your team. The accessibility of the games is harder to watch today because of needing NBA League Pass, needing all of these other streaming services to actually access the games and watch them, right? The fans in the NBA have evolved just like the game has. The NBA has 184 million followers across all their social media platforms. The NHL, the MLB, and the NFL have 154 million combined. I'm not worried about the popularity of the NBA, right? I'm not worried about that because the NBA also says that they have had 10 billion video views across all their social media platforms, which is up 90% from 5 years ago. The NBA has also shown record-setting league pass purchases, which is up by 8%, which they've never had in a single season. The NBA has an evolution problem where now fans are not accessing the information by watching the game. They're accessing the information by social media. They're accessing the information by watching it where it's most convenient for them. NBA sprinkles in games Wednesdays and weird weekdays, and it can start anywhere from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 10 o'clock at night. A lot of people aren't getting off work at those times, or they're just getting off work and they have to go home and take care of their families. Being able to sit down and watch an NBA game is a lot more of a commitment to follow your season than it is a sport like football, where it's a set day, a set time, and it's 17 games. That's what I personally feel the NBA is dealing with. It's not an issue per se. It's an evolution of just not only the game, but of how fans consume the game stats and the highlights.
The NBA has gotten away from just being a sports league and also being an entertainment league. Like, when I always used to say to people who, I think throughout America, football is more popular. And like growing up, I was always in the minority of the NBA was my number one. So when they would ask me why is basketball better? What do you like about stuff? My answer was it's constant action. You weren't huddling up to make your play. You didn't have to wait for the cadence to snap the ball. You didn't have to wait for the court. There was a drive, a pass, a shot, a block. It's all things going on at once. But now the analytics people have won. The game is work the ball until you can get a three-point shot or until you can get a driving lane for a layup. Those are the two ways you can score. And this might not be the best analogy for everyone, but it is a lot like when NBA 2K, the video game, has also changed with the NBA and how that is played, in the sense of when you used to create your guy, at least for me, I used to like someone who could do a little bit of everything and be the best basketball player that I can possibly make. I can drive, I can shoot, I can rebound, I can defend inside and outside, all that stuff. There aren't guys like that now. There's maybe one guy like that on the team if you maybe have someone like a Jokic or a LeBron, right? But then it's just like one guy and pieces. And that's not fun to really play with. Because if you're the guy, cool, you get all the action, but then it's okay. Well, if you get the ball, then you shoot. But if you get the ball, you're not allowed to shoot. You got to find someone who's open, and then you can pass and move. But if you get the ball, like that's not how. Like I understand from a playing the sport of basketball, that is how you should play or the most efficient way to play. But that's not the best way to watch the game. You're watching because you want to see everyone play and have like a good, entertaining experience. And the reason that the team perspective was so important was because a little bit ago, the conversation was going around of, can NBA players play in the NFL or can NFL players play in the NBA? Like, who would do better? And I think the overall overwhelming consensus was that NBA players would do better in the NFL because the NBA has better athletes. We are not showcasing those athletes anymore. There aren't any cool and posterizing dunks anymore. Like, we don't see any cool highlight cams, even like Shaq and the Fool. Do you remember when Shaq and the Fool was like an every week thing? You look forward to it. It was gone. I don't even know if they still do that anymore. They might, but it's not the same. There are not these teams full of characters and people you can build relationships with. And when we had this conversation before about, you had asked if maybe it was rookies are one and dones in college, player or fans can't build that relationship. Is that why they're not as into the NBA? There's been a lot of Europeans drafted recently. You know why? Because the Europe leagues play basketball. It's not pass, shoot, pass, drive, pass out, shoot. It's basketball. It's teams playing together. It's a full sport. And the NBA, their thing, Steve, was, like I said, the athletes. We're not showcasing those athletes anymore. Can you imagine if Wemby didn't just stand, like if he was not just outside the perimeter, but if he was moving around, driving, dunking, and like doing all that stuff, and we don't see that. Anthony Edwards is a prolific dunker and athlete. Most threes he's taken in his career this season. The All-Star game sucks because it's just 3-pointers and all these guys taking their turn shooting from half court. Like, I think the NBA needs to do a better job at saying to teams, like, it's going to sound weird, stop worrying about winning all the time and worry about the product that you are also putting out to the public.
I agree with everything you said. A little snippet on that Wemby thing you said. Imagine if he was running around instead of hanging out at the three-point arc. True stat. This season, Wemby has taken more threes than dunks.
Like, why? He's 7'6". Can you imagine in like 2016-17, you have someone of his nature and you're just sitting him like at the top of the key?
Now, to play devil's advocate, if you have a 7'6" guy that can shoot the three and is that athletic, is it not smarter to let him take that if all you're worried about is winning?
I'm not saying Wemby shouldn't shoot threes. I'm saying Wemby shouldn't just shoot threes. Like I said, teams are so focused on, like you said, 3 is worth more than 2. It's the smarter shot. But the NBA is not just like, it's not an intramural league. It's not a who's the best team. It's an entertainment league as well. There's a product they're putting out. I think Adam Silver needs to kind of press a little bit on, like, listen, guys, things are tanking and it's not going to get better unless we change things now.
I agree.
And an interesting thing I thought of earlier today, like as I was making my notes, I was like, what could some solutions be? How would you feel about if teams had a certain number of threes that they were allowed to take? So, like, for example, now I'm just picking this number anywhere. You have 20 threes that you're allowed to make. But once you shoot your 21st three, even if it's behind the arc, it's 2 points. So you can
I would just counter that with, what if I had Steph Curry and Klay Thompson both on my team?
So you can use up all your threes in the first quarter if you want to. Then you don't have any more.
Yeah, I was gonna say they might use them up in the 5 minutes.
But then you're shooting from half court for the same thing you would be if taking a layup. So it
Not a bad idea.
It emphasizes like being that it's not all the time that you have to kind of work to get those other shots.
So to kind of go a little bit off of what you just said, what if they just got rid of the corner three?
It would eliminate the amount of corner threes, but people would just still shoot threes. You know what I'm saying?
It sounds like there's really no one answer to this.
No, right. I mean, there's not but I think the answer is rule changes. Like something has to change. They can't keep doing the same thing, and the NBA is not going to be able to sustain itself. Like it's going to implode if they keep doing this. So yeah, something's got to happen. And that's going to do it for us today, guys. A lot of good stuff, a lot of good information, good games coming up this Sunday. Make sure you're in store to see the AFC game. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? You know, that's just what do I know. But folks, we will see you next Friday, same time, same place. And listen, always remember, folks, always remember, if you are ever in need of intelligent, cogent sports analysis, listen to this out. We will always have you covered. Thank you so much for joining us today, folks. We hope you stay warm. Hope you stay safe. Take care. We'll see you next Friday.
Listen to the sound. I listen to the sound.